Previously on Lost.
And here we are, part 2, where we finish up the bodywork on the XA Falcon, which I'm going to call this episode part 1.5. I said I'd have the bodywork done in a 2-part series, and I got like maybe 5 minutes into this episode before changing over to the Clevo. So, good evening, good morning, good afternoon, lady and gentlemen. I'm filming this intro after I've done everything, so I no longer lie to you and say, on this episode, I'm gonna get this done, and then I get halfway through it and discover it's all just a mess of a situation. So I can tell you exactly what we're doing on this episode. It's part 1.6. There we go, I just spoiled it. I spoiled the whole video for you. It's part 1.6. What more do you want from me? Part 1.6 of the 2-part XA Falcon bodywork special. If you just count the time between these videos as like an ad break, then I'll count it as just 2 videos, all 4 that there will be. I'm back on the XA and I absolutely hammer out all this rear tray section. I get the, I'm not even sure what I did last episode. What did I do last episode? I got distracted and I built the Clevo, which by the way is looking spicy. But this episode, I'm gonna get hammering into the rear floor section where the fuel tank used to sit. That little cover section in the X Series Falcon Utes that covers where the shock absorbers go. You'll figure out what I'm talking about. Get on to doing the wheel tubs, which is pretty exciting. And then putting in the left-hand side inner tray doozy section, which is actually the hardest bit. The right-hand side where there's absolutely nothing, that's gonna be super easy because all of that, that's just spoiled the episode even more, hasn't it? I've said that this is, I'm filming this at the end and this stuff's still sitting here. Whatever. But because they're whole sections, that's going to be quite easy. I won't have the rear quarter on in my way. That can go on last. Whereas doing the left hand side, the rear quarter's on. It's like most of the stuff's there. I don't want to take some stuff off. So, and I'm a mechanic. See, a panel beater might say it's quicker to take off the rear quarter panel and go from there and just take everything off and start again. But I'm a mechanic. I look at a job and I say, I should just be able to do that. And I get halfway through it and realize I need to take this off. But then I don't want to take it off because I'm already halfway through it. So I just got to keep on going. And then I spend another 2 hours trying to put this water pump on, but I can't actually access it without taking the inlet manifold off. But I don't want to take the inlet manifold off. That's the whole reason I'm doing this, because I thought it would just be a quick job, and that's why I didn't take the inlet manifold off in the beginning. But now that I've spent another 2 hours trying to get these goddamn bolts and hoses onto the water pump, I finally give in and take off more little bits that don't mean I have to take off the inlet manifold, and I just keep getting deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper until eventually I get the job done. With cuts on my arms and an extremely sour move, the job gets done eventually. It might be way longer, but that's just how we're wired as mechanics. So, mechanic mindset, doing panel work. Probably not the greatest thing, but we get the job done. So I'm gonna pass this on to past Matt, who's already filmed this section, and he's gonna explain what we're doing. So, Matt from like 5 days ago, take it away. And first up is this fuel tray section here. So we just finished up doing that last time. We've done the back wall and the side bit. So now we're moving into this tray section so we can get this rear quarter panel on. And I've just spent the past 10, maybe 15, probably took me 20, you know, if I'm stretching it, 20 minutes making up this panel here. And I did cut the one out of the XG because I was going to put the XG floor in there, but that was kind of rusty too. And from what I had to cut out, it didn't meet the edges. I just thought I'd make one whole panel that covers edge to edge and does all that. Here it is. Here's that panel. Now it looks rough because it is, but I've used sections of the XG floor, as you can see there, just because that had the right lumps and humps and curves and all that sort of jazz. But the rest of it, just one big steel sheet, and this will be the start of the wheel tub here. So basically the wheel tub will come up from there. But we'll put it down and we'll see how she fits. Well, I ran out of gas just before I did this side, but it's gone in pretty bloody well. I've just done a few spot welds, obviously running along the chassis, and then a couple of spot welds along there to mate it up for those panels. And where I've cut the XF panel and sort of merged it to the pan, it looks a bit shonky, but trust me, it all lines up, it all presses together. So started running out of gas around there. As you can see, the track marks from the bits that just went flying everywhere. I'll get a new bottle of gas and we'll continue on with that. But before we do that, because obviously getting a bottle of gas is quite the struggle for me at the moment,
I'm going to make the panel that runs along here that covers up this massive brace here where the shock absorbers mount and takes us up to the start of the tray here. So let's hook into that.
Alright, I know you're all thinking, why is he wearing a garbage bag on his leg? That's because I've got a moon boot on, so my ankle is still recovering from the surgery, so I need to wear a moon boot for another couple of weeks. So whilst I'm at the workshop, I'll put a garbage bag over it to stop all the metal shavings and everything else getting all over it. So here I'm using the hydraulic press thing situation that I got for the dimple die kit. It uses this hydraulic jack to essentially pull through the shearer and cut a big hole in the metal that fits the size of the dimple die.
So I messed up a little bit, but as you can see, so there's the hole for the shock absorber to come through. And I guess you'll be able to get it if you have a wobbly joint, but essentially these needed to be about 20 mil higher to be directly in line with the shock absorber hole. And a little bit of an angle now. But I'm not concerned because I'm not going to be changing the shock absorber. If I have to change the shock absorbers in this car more than once, something's going wrong, and that's on me. So, do I care? No, not really. Does it look cool? Yes, it looks cool. So, coolness on a graph, the coolness versus practicality, or sorry, coolness versus how much I care is like disproportionate. I don't know how I'd put that on a graph. Do some graphics there. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to mark out basically where the spot welds will need to go for the chassis ramp. And I got some fresh gas, so finish welding up this section and stitching all this together. And of course prep this properly and get the underside coated in KBS so that doesn't rust. So let's get all that done.
So what I'm doing here is I'm installing little braces across the bend in the chassis because I'll be cutting off the outer lip that points towards the wheel just to give the tubs and the wheel arc area a little bit more space, as the American racing rims that I'm running are quite wide, so I'm just eliminating any unnecessary things that they could be rubbing against.
I've done the thing that I didn't even plan on doing. I can get back to what I did plan on doing, which was this side piece here. Now it's putting on this side piece and then doing the tub for this wheel. I'm pretty much completing this side, well, apart from the exterior. It's like the lower sills, I'll get to them later, but in terms of inside this tray area, this will be done. So I guess I've just got to start hacking into that now.
Okay, so as you can see, with this replacement panel, this has this section here, which is still attached. So you're gonna have to take this piece here out, and also I've included all this because it was kind of rusty down towards the bottom end on the XA, so I thought I might as well replace the whole lot. And that is all the same. So that means I've basically got to cut from here down and remove that. I've got the replacement piece for that there. And remove basically a chunk of that stuff, take that out, and then take this tub off here. I just kept it on to make sure that it stayed straight and aligned and I didn't accidentally bend it. Because once I remove that tub, that's just gonna be a weak point in the center there. So I have to remove that tub to get it to fit down there. And yeah, let's hack into it.
The hardest part about doing these repairs right here is that I was trying to cut the most amount of crap out of the way whilst removing the least amount of good stuff out of the way, which just made it super difficult. I was trying to bend and move things around and get the air chisel in where I couldn't get the angle grinder, but if I had my time again, I would remove most of the stuff, including the recorder, out of the way, but progress is progress.
Next thing up is to get this ready to go on. How exciting. So to get this ready to go on, I've got to basically just drill out where all these spot welds were on this tray side tub here. So I'm going to remove that because remember I'm putting on my own wheel tubs. I say we're as though you're doing it with me. But luckily for you, you're just sitting at home watching this and watching me struggle through this. But yes, I'm going to remove this tub, and then also there's bits from where I cut this out. I just basically hacked it out, so leftovers from the XG, so I've got to separate this little piece here. This is from the rear quarter section of the XG. I've got to separate that piece there. So that's all gone there, and likewise on here I've got to separate this old piece there and get all that ready to be welded and fixed up. And yes, so just removing some last little pieces, including that tub there. Also mainly this section because I definitely don't need that section anymore. As you can see, that's where the tub sort of starts, and that all went around there. I'm not using really any of that. So yeah, let's get hacking and get this ready to go on.
I 100% think that drilling out spot welds is the worst part of the restoration process for all cars. It is just an absolute tedious crap time. Your drill bits blunt out and then you've got to go and buy new ones, and it's just it's the most repetitive thing ever. I absolutely hate it, can't stand it, and I'm super glad, touch wood, that this is the last time I'll have to drill out any spot welds. And here I'm test fitting the panel and it's starting to fit up really nicely. So now I've just got to do some of the finer touches, like adding on some little brackets to this side panel and getting it fitted correctly.
All right, so update time. This is pretty much prepped to go in. I've cut off all the excess bits of panel that were still stuck to it. It's all been primed, straightened out, done all that. I've done the same here. I had to cut out some parts that were a little bit too rusty. Oh, that reminds me, I've got to put a lip there at the bottom. I'll deal with that when I get to it. And sort of primed everything where this panel welds to. But next, the first thing we have to do is make the wheel tub for this. So I've gone down to the steel shop. I got them to cut me 2 pieces exactly because I don't have a pan brake, so I can't cut steel straight. I have to cut it and it looks like shit. And I want the edge of this wheel well to be perfect. So here are the 2 strips of steel. That'll be the top, and another big long sheet to cut essentially the D's out of that will form the ends of the wheel tubs. I think all up that cost me like 140 bucks for the steel all cut like that. So pretty good. Might have a little bit left over as well. Add to the other steel to throw into this thing. That's next on the list. So once again, cue the time lapse and let's get into it.
Now, the wheel tubs are pretty simple. I'm just using some long sheets of 1mm steel and then finding out where I need to cut for them to fit around the chassis. And then it's basically just a matter of getting them in place, using Tex screws to screw them into place, and tracing the outline of the end panel so I can get the exact radius, how they sit, where it's meant to sit, and then all weld together, all juicy, and everything will be fine, and nothing will surprise me when I go to fit it. Hopefully.
Okay, I think it's definitely time for a little update on where we're at and where I think I'm going with this. Because obviously, I've got no idea. I'm just going along. So where this is now, this bracket in relation to this panel here, where I've welded it, I welded it in the exact same spots because this came off the XG and this came off the XG. So I welded it in the exact same spots that I drilled the welds out of. So technically, this should be at the perfect height. However, it was just a little bit higher than what was on the XC, and the fact I've had to try and lift this whole panel up so much made me a little bit concerned, but then I remembered I did accidentally lean on the panel when that wasn't connected, and I felt it like bend. So yeah, it could be pointing a little bit down, but oh, we're here now. I've just got to get rid of some metal that's stuck behind there, which is stopping this from going in. And then that'll go in. Down here, once that goes in, this will all line up, so that obviously goes to there. I'm obviously going to cut this section off. I just want to keep this on for now to help with alignment. But other than that, looks pretty good. This tab here was bent the other way, or was it straight? I think it goes down straight, and it went in between what was there from factory, but to try and find a factory piece, and nah, screw it. So that's why I've kept this tail going down here, and I've just bent that the other way, and that pretty much matches up perfectly with that in all the right ways. So pretty stoked about that. But yes, first things first is to get this section right, and once that section's right, all the rest can line up off that, because obviously that's where the tailgate mounts, and that will have a huge impact on how I'll fix that. Obviously it's a little bit dicky because it's just all jammed in there. That'll come good. But what I want to do is fix this part to here first. And then once this is fixed to this, align this onto that. And then before I weld too much, I'm going to go get a tailgate. Actually, I can't. All right. Guess we're just going to send it, and we'll wait until that side's on to worry about it then. If the tailgate doesn't line up, guess what? No tailgate. We're welding straight across. It's going to be flat. There's going to be no tailgate. But yeah, we hope for the best. So let's keep going. Oh, I think that's where we're gonna have to call it. I'm just probably gonna weld that in actually. I'm gonna weld these spot welds here just so that panel stays there. But I'd rather just get this video edited and out and then continue going on. So that means this will be part 1.6 of a 2-part series, which will be probably 4 videos long. That all lines up to my and your surprise, I'm sure. Luckily, I've got the XC here. So what I did was I got this 90-degree buoy, and I'll show you what I did. So running him along this back bar here, because that is something that's on the XC that I can measure off of. And making sure it's straight along there as well. Measured to basically where the top of this panel goes to, and that was what, 39.2, 39.4. Come over to the XC and do the exact same thing, and we've got the same 39.2, 39.4, 39.2-ish. So that's how I know I'm happy with this. Keeping in mind, it's still on the piss a little bit, so when this bends in, I'm gonna lower it down to, it's 39.4, and that's obviously at a pretty decent angle. So once that levels out, I reckon that'll be 39.2 on the Dotterino. And then this section here, I basically just got to trace, these are the cutouts for the other wheel tub. I've just got to trace that same radius onto that radius there and make sure that fits. You might be wondering why I'm not doing a full, if I've done all this custom sheet metal shit, if I'm not doing a full sheet metal down the side. And I actually sat there for about 5 minutes looking at it, staring at it, going, I should really do a sheet metal down the side, but I'm here. The other side, once this goes on, it's actually a lot easier if I keep all that stuff on, because it just goes on as one whole unit. Unlike this side, this is the hardest side to do because I'm trying to keep the quarter panel on, I'm trying to keep all that crap on. But once this is done, this side is easy. All the full panels bolt on, I've got access to the outside once I do the inner, and then the quarter panel goes on last, which is the main reason this is taking so long. So maybe somewhere down the line, I'll do something on the side there, but for now, I'll just keep the factory looking one. So before I end it, give this video a like real quick. If you stuck this far, thank you very much. Give the video a like. If you're not subscribed, please consider giving a subscribe, because after we finish this, maybe this week, I'll do the rest of this week. It's like Tuesday now, I think. Do the rest of this week doing this. We're gonna be moving on the XC. I tell you what, the first episode of the XC is gonna be an absolute banger. So please subscribe if you haven't subscribed already. like the video, and I guess I'll just end this video with me welding this in, and hopefully nothing else goes wrong.